Chris Harrison's latest podcast drop has caused Bachelor Nation to go into a heat wave. We are going to be breaking down the biggest Bachelor Nation headlines of the week. So welcome back to our channel, everybody. I'm your host, Zachary Reality, with Kayla G, and we are so excited to break down everything going on in Bachelor Nation. So before we get into all the tea, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Kayla G, how are you doing today? And welcome to Shared. This is your first panel hosting with us.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. I live and breathe Bachelor Nation, so I am ready to get into it.
What was the first season of The Bachelor you watched?
Jake Pavelski. I think we've talked about this. I think we both started on the same season.
Yeah, Jake Pavelka's season. Yeah, well, they don't know, our viewers don't know, but we are friends. I have done your podcast before. You're over there on TikTok recording everyone's lives. I feel like Kayla G is always getting all the tea from everyone's TikTok lives, so I know you're going to add a lot to the combo. Yeah, I mean, why don't you tell everyone your claim to fame?
All right, guys, you remember that feud between Katie Thurston and Nick Viall back like the beginning of Gabby and Rachel's season? That was because I screen recorded Katie Thurston's live that she blocked Nick Viall, and chaos ensued. And I'm very proud of it. It's my claim to fame, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into some other TikTok lives in this panel, so we definitely are here with the right two people. So let's get right into it, because Tayshia, she might have a new man. Now, she has been teasing us on TikTok for a while, potentially dating around New York. We know that she used to be engaged to Zach from her season of The Bachelorette. She then went on to host the show, but she's been trolling us for a while, and now it seems like there is someone in the picture. So let's take a look at this recent TikTok she posted.
Are you gonna tell me what's going on?
I would, but I think explaining it might give us both an aneurysm.
Okay, Kayla G, I gotta know, what do you think about this? Are you ready to see Tayshia move on and go public with a new guy? I mean, is she just trolling us? What are your thoughts?
I would love that. Actually, one of my Bachelor Nation predictions was that Tayshia dates a high-profile celebrity. So I'm like really hoping it's like, I don't think it's gonna be like a Brad Pitt or anything, but I don't know, maybe Pete Davidson, something fun like that. I would love that. Or maybe Tyler Cameron. He's kind of royalty in Bachelor Nation, kind of on her level maybe.
I want to see her with like Austin Butler. Okay, maybe I'm just like fresh off the Golden Globes. That's way better than mine. But yeah, I feel like that would be kind of possible, maybe. I'm not sure if he's dating anyone. I know his sister was his date last night, so he's probably single. But that's who I would like to see her date. But if she is dating someone, I kind of feel like it would be someone out of the spotlight, just because Tayshia, you know, she lives her, you know, profile, you know, on social media with fashion and everything, you know, in front of the spotlight, but she always kept her relationships really private. And I feel like she's been dating around a little bit, I would assume, since the show, and we haven't really heard of anyone. So I wouldn't think it would be someone like in the spotlight.
You're probably right, but a girl can dream, and that's just, I would live for it. So I'm manifesting it for 2023.
So yeah, we'll be following Tayshia and keeping up with her TikToks, and we'll see what transpires. Let's move on to our next topic, because Jason and Kaitlyn are shutting down the breakup rumors. Now, they've been engaged for quite some time now, and Bachelor fans are anxiously awaiting a wedding. The pair was thinking about getting married this past New Year's Eve, but it didn't happen, causing more fans to speculate what's going on. Kaitlyn actually shared a cute video on Instagram of Jason kissing her on the cheek while addressing a question. She did the question tab about whether or not they're still together, and she even talked a little bit about their relationship and their wedding planning on TikTok Live the other night, sharing that they just haven't sat down and planned it. They are busy. What do you think about this? They're clearly so established in their careers. They're really focused on their podcasts. They seem to be happy and together. Are fans asking too much from them, or are they just not sharing enough?
They're Bachelor royalty. I think we're just all very excited to see the wedding. But I really love that they're both like pursuing their passions. They both have their podcasts and they're supporting each other in that. And I think that's only putting us in the right direction of they are lifers, and we will see a wedding. It just might not be on the timeline we want it to be.
I know. It's like same with Hannah G and Dylan. They've been engaged for like over 3 years and we're all excited about the wedding. But I think it will be finally worth the wait when it comes because look at Jordan and JoJo. I mean, they took 6 years and we finally got it.
Exactly. And hopefully we get a JoJo and Jordan baby this year. That's fingers crossed.
Ooh, yeah. Well, did you see that their show, remember their show, The Big D? It was about divorced couples. It got canceled, but it actually got picked up and is going to be on another network.
Oh, I didn't realize that because I was so disappointed when I found out it was no longer going to air. So I will be watching.
Yeah, it's going to come back. But in regards to Jason and Kaitlyn, it just doesn't seem like wedding planning is a priority for them. We know that they're together, they live together. I know that they travel a lot and they're both, like I said, really focused on their careers. So it's kind of the same thing with Rachel and Brian. Like they're both really focused on their careers. It doesn't mean that they're not together and not happy. It just means what you see on social media is them really just working a lot. And I mean, Jason and Kaitlyn will get married whenever they want to. I mean, they could make us wait 10 years for all we know. When do you think we're actually going to see them get married? And what do you think their wedding will look like?
Ooh, okay. Not this year. I think maybe a 2024 wedding. Maybe even like I could see her doing like a winter, maybe a winter wonderland moment. I love weddings that have like kind of really lean into the season.
Yeah. Well, we will see what happens. We will definitely be following. Now, let's move on to the Chris Harrison of it all. Now, Chris Harrison has dropped the first 2 podcast episodes of his new show, The Most Dramatic Pod Ever. He shared, I was heartbroken, I was gutted, I was embarrassed, I was mad at myself, I was disappointed in myself. The last thing in the world I ever wanted to do was to be an agent of anything negative, whether it had to do with race or anything. Things spun out of control for a number of reasons, and I was sick to my stomach. I lost 20 pounds. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I was scared to death. It was just one gut punch after the other, and mentally and physically, I deteriorated pretty badly. I gotta know what your thoughts were on this podcast and everything that he shared, because it's been a couple years since he's really opened up, and I feel like he got very vulnerable.
Yeah, to me, I think I had such high expectations that I kind of called the episodes like not the most dramatic episodes ever.
Pod ever.
Yeah, pod ever. Thank you. And I just think in my opinion, I think he played it a little safe. I would have liked to seen, he never mentioned Rachel Lindsay by name. And I would have maybe appreciated a apology specifically to her. I don't know. I guess I was wanting a little bit more. I don't know. What did you think, Zachary?
You know, I really liked how he was vulnerable, I think, with like explaining what it's like to be quote unquote canceled and how he was advised to just stay silent and just take it. And, you know, he opened up about not eating and the paparazzi being outside of his house. You know, I felt for him in those ways. I felt like he's truly been through it the past couple of years. So it was nice to just kind of catch up with him because I know he really cares about his viewers and his fans, and he made that clear. So I liked those parts of it. I didn't feel like he addressed the interview enough, kind of like you were saying. I didn't expect him to maybe bring up Rachel just because then it becomes like so much more media, like Chris said this, Rachel said this. And I think he was trying to avoid that. But I did see some fans saying online, which I agreed with, that maybe he should have talked a little bit more about what he's learned and why he knew he was wrong and like what he's learned about this situation. And, you know, he just kept on saying it wasn't him, he misspoke. But I kind of wanted to hear about like how he's maybe educated himself more or just like, you know, learned from the situation so that he never does that again. So I think that would be an interesting topic to dive into maybe next week. He said he's gonna kind of take some fan questions, but I also enjoyed listening to some of the Bachelor tea that he dropped because he did have some snippets of tea, which we're gonna get into, that I thought was very interesting.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I do think kind of to what you said of them being advised, both him and Lauren Zima, who was on the second episode, they were advised not to say anything. And I think that might be part of the problem with me watching it. Was it like 2 years later? I wish I could have heard from him like this, like right after it happened, you know? I feel like maybe that might be the disconnect for me.
Yeah, I get that he needed time, and I do agree that it was probably best that he laid low for a minute, but it has been 2 years, so it has been a really long time where it almost feels like everyone's like moved on. Not that, you know, there's still people who have not forgiven him, and it really is only up to the people he offended, you know, to forgive him or not. But it definitely felt like this was long overdue, and I get why some people were disconnected. But regardless, I mean, he still got #1 on the charts. Like he
sure
popped
did.
off, Everybody was listening.
Good for him.
Everyone wanted to hear what he had to say. And, you know, he also said that he's going to be back in the mix this year. So he's going to be, you know, taking on some new hosting jobs and gigs, I would assume, in 2023. And he's excited to get back out there. But it's also interesting to see him in the mix because he actually threw a little bit of shade at former Bachelor Nick Viall. Now, Chris alluded to the fact that a lot of Bachelor Nation wanted his job, and he thought that Wells was going to be next in line for the gig, but Nick Viall wanted it too. Nick responded on his podcast saying that Chris should take more accountability for what he did and that he's disappointed that he was called out like that because everyone wanted his job, even Sean Lowe. So what were your thoughts on this topic of conversation? Because this got everybody talking this week.
Yeah, for sure. I think he did throw Nick Viall under the bus a little bit, but at the same time, like, I have respect. Like, if I was Nick Viall in that position and stuff was going down with Chris Harrison, I'd be trying to get that job too. Like, I get it. He you know, you got to hustle. And I don't really blame him for it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's interesting to kind of hear that conversation. I mean, Chris just like was very invested in his job, right? Like he said that even when he was fired, he still was like rooting for the show and was like sad to see the ratings go down. But he really thought it was going to be Wells. He also didn't mention Jesse Palmer by name. And I would have loved to hear what his thoughts were on Jesse Palmer hosting and him taking the job. And if they've talked, that is a question I hope that he answers maybe next week. I mean, there's some mixed reactions about how Nick was responding to it.
So he said I was gunning for his job?
Well, no, he said that you saw blood in the water of the situation when he went down.
But he didn't list me as one of the people like who reached out. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he went down a whole list of everyone who was like,
I don't know. I feel like Nick needs to be like, yes, I wanted the job. Because I feel like we all know Nick. We've listened to his podcast. We know that, you know, he goes after what he wants and he has no shame about that. So I feel like Chris was kind of right. Like Nick was probably gunning for it more than other people.
Yeah, I say Nick should own it. And one thing I do agree wholeheartedly with Chris Harrison is that Wells Adam should have gotten the job. I was rooting for him during that time and I was shocked when he didn't get it. And I definitely felt like Jesse Palmer was a little bit left field. And it was interesting to see Chris Harrison also kind of going in that direction. That he even told Wells Adams, he's like, I hope you get it.
Yeah. And then he also said that Wells, you know, told him he was going to stay out of it. So, he, you know, stay out of it publicly, you know, not comment on anything. So I guess they are still friends, but, you know, Chris really just wanted none of his friends to kind of comment on things. And I feel like that was almost to his demise, making things worse for himself by telling people not to defend him or just staying silent. That almost prolonged this. So I think he did make a lot of mistakes in that aspect, but ultimately his biggest mistake was misspeaking during that interview with Rachel Lindsay and, you know, the way he kind of disrespected her during that interview. So I think fans definitely want to hear a little bit more about the ins and outs of that so everyone can officially move on and listen to his podcast. But what do you think Chris Harrison's podcast is going to be like? Do you think he's going to interview Bachelor stars, other celebrities? Is it just going to be him and Lauren each week? Like, how does Chris kind of go about this?
Well, it's funny that he was bringing up Nick Viall because how he was explaining his podcast kind of seemed very Viall files, like about relationships and stuff like that. I feel like he has to bring some Bachelor friends in. I mean, that's his brand, whether he wants it or not at this point. So I really hope so. And maybe, you know, like I know him and like Ashley I are close. Maybe he could get like successful relationships from the franchise to go on there to talk about relationships with him. That's kind of how I see it going. I don't think Lauren Zima's going to be on many more episodes. I think they were just, he wanted to talk about his relationship first, and so he could kind of continue on with others. It seemed like she was helping him out with this episode, but not necessarily is going to be a pillar in the future episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her around, just because it is his fiance. And, you know, Nick always has his girlfriend on the podcast, and, you know, a lot of people do that. But I think that he could have Bachelor couples on and other Bachelor alums, but I don't think he's going to have, like, only Bachelor people. But the name is just very Bachelor, the most dramatic pod ever. And I think it's kind of funny that he threw a little digs at Nick, just because Nick does have one of the bigger Bachelor podcasts. So I almost wonder if he was trying to start like a podcast war, because that's kind of how you get more viewers and listeners, right? Like having, you know, going back and forth from people. So I wonder if that was like strategic on his part too.
Yeah, Nick Viall responding to his podcast just prolonged the headlines for his own podcast. So it really, they're helping each other out, honestly. So is it a feud, or are they fellow podcasters helping each other out?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And we definitely want to hear from our viewers what you guys think on these topics. So let us know in the comments down below. Who is Tayshia's new man? Are Jason and Kaitlyn ever going to get married? And what did you think of Chris Harrison's podcast? That is everything we have to share with you guys today. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you're notified whenever we post new videos. I'm your host, Zachary Reality, with Kayla Galloway. Our socials are on the screen right now. So if you guys want to give us a follow, come say hello. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much.